listening to the Midnight in Kentucky Monthly Weird Report. A Patreon exclusive podcast.
So, speaking of the military and the paranormal,
here we go.
Moving on to our third story this evening. We have how believers in the paranormal birthed the Pentagon's new hunt for UFOs. This is published on March 7th by Travis Trenton on military.com. This one gets weird, man. So, ATIB and ALSAP and NIDS, the Skinwalker Ranch studies, all of these government bodies, right? And well, I'm just going to read from the article, and we'll take it from there. In Oregon, a man said his health deteriorated after a glowing blue orb passed through his body. A family in California reported strange lights and a gray figure with spindly legs in their orchard. A werewolf-like creature allegedly prowled around homes in suburban Virginia. All three incidents were probed as part of a secret Pentagon program investigating UFOs. The program, contracted by the Defense Intelligence Agency, plumbed the connection between flying saucers and the paranormal for 2 years, according to the men who ran it. People say, well, we're only going to look at the nuts and bolts machines. Well, you better come up with a lot of physics. It's far more advanced than we're capable of now, said James Lakatsky, a now retired DEA intelligence officer who set up the UFO program that ran from 2008 to 2010. Then there's others who say, well, they're nothing more than ghosts, part of the paranormal world. No, they're a hybrid of both, he said.
Skinwalker Ranch,
Skinwalker
Ranch. That's
Ranch.
The first thing that, when you start talking about, aliens, and then they have the werewolf type thing. I mean, the Skinwalker Ranch had all kinds of different paranormal activity.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what this sounds like. It sounds like exactly the same situation.
Well, we're going to get into Skinwalker Ranch in this in just a moment. It says the Pentagon's usual UFO program echoed classified DEA and CIA programs in the 1970s and 80s that explored whether human psychics could use the power of their minds, called remote viewing, to spy on the Soviets and other foreign adversaries from far away. The earlier programs spanned 25 years and featured in the non-fiction book The Men Who Stare at Goats, which was made into a fictionalized movie in 2009. The programs ultimately terminated in 1995 and deemed ineffective for intelligence operations, according to the Federation of American Scientists.
Dude, I remember that movie. I never watched it, but I remember seeing the previews for it and stuff. And man, I gotta watch. It was something I wanted to watch, but I never did get around to it.
I have honestly never seen it either. And it, like you, I wanted to see it. Maybe this is an MIK movie review waiting to come up. This may be a Patreon episode in the future. This whole program, I think, is referencing not only MK Ultra, but this fella by the name of John B. Alexander, who was theorized, I don't know if you remember this, at one point to have been the informant in Hellier. He said multiple times he's behind Bigelow. He was Bigelow's contractor. He worked with Rick Doty, as far as I remember.
That was a whole weird.
Oh yeah, and he's the guy who inspired Men Who Stare at Goats. He also wrote a book called The Warrior's Edge, which I have in there, which I had to go look at just now to get his name. Which is an excellent book, just about like the thought processes of being a warrior, how beliefs are like weapons that you should take on and cast off as you need them. He has been described by some as being like a real-life Jedi Knight, or as trying to develop a Jedi Knight program. But he's also very much a part of these programs that, study UFOs for the Pentagon and shit. So, going on from the article, in early 2009, Lakatsky and Kelleher sent a sailor whom they described as a senior engineer in naval intelligence on a 4.5-month investigation of witnesses and evidence in the Nimitz case, referring to the UFO that was seen over the USS Nimitz, out where we were just talking about.
Right.
That work would remain secret for years before being leaked by others. After the Nimitz investigation, the sailor and 2 Marines were sent to none other than a Utah property known as Skinwalker Ranch, where Bigelow, the owner, Robert Bigelow, had funded his own private research of UFO and paranormal activity over the previous decade. Skinwalker Ranch sits on over 500 acres of steppe land near the town of Ballard in northeastern Utah. It has long been alleged epicenter of strange happenings dating back to the tales of the Native American Ute tribe and Navajo people who believed in malevolent witches called skinwalkers who can transform into animal-like creatures.
There's your werewolf.
There's your werewolf. Oh, he's coming back. Werewolves are coming back. But isn't it weird that this dude investigated the Nimitz case? One of the major fucking cases right now in ufology and coming out with this whole disclosure thing. And then he also went to Skinwalker Ranch?
Yeah.
The article goes on. We ain't even to the weird shit yet. The 3 active duty service members whose identities have been concealed by researchers in the Defense Department allegedly witnessed a black void on the land that filled them with fear. Lukatsky and Kelleher claim the men experienced paranormal activity after leaving the ranch and returning to their homes in Washington, D.C. area, such as orbs, dark figures in their bedroom at night, and strange noises. The wife and 2 teen children of the sailor who investigated the Nimitz incident claimed to have seen a wolf-like creature that walked on 2 hind legs staring into their Virginia home on 2 different occasions.
Dude, during Skinwalker Ranch, remember that there was the portal opened up and they said a big hairy creature crawled out.
Yep. That come from what? The first Skinwalker Ranch book that come out that George Knapp worked on? It was in the documentary.
I seen it in the documentary. That's where I had seen it.
Is that the shit? Which documentary is that? Hunt for the Skinwalkers.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's based on that book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fucking A. Yeah. Okay. It sounds like the same thing though, right?
Yeah.
Like this void opens up on
Because they asked him if it was a Bigfoot, and they said it wasn't big enough to be what people consider a Bigfoot.
Right.
So if it's a werewolf type creature, that would fit that bill.
But isn't it odd that? And it's not odd, but I mean it is odd. But isn't it odd that we're hearing about it in the mainstream that this followed them home? Like their wife and their kids saw it in Washington, D.C.
If they're coming through portals out there, what?
Right.
What's to say it can't come through a portal anywhere it wants to go?
It's almost like a type of sickness, though. Almost like they were infected with it in a way, and like they brought it home, and then they started experiencing, from Utah to Washington, D.C.
Or maybe they were just being watched, and now it's coming to check them out.
That's it. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It might not necessarily be a sickness as much as, we caught our eye on you as much as you caught your eye on us.
Fuck, man. Yeah, absolutely. There's a great line from the Mothman Prophecies where John Keel, or the guy that, I can't remember but he's supposed to be John Keel. He says, it's almost like the universe turned its eye on me and said, fuck you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But some other weird shit, and that's the pinnacle of weird shit, which that is some wild stuff. I mean, the werewolf looking in the homes of these people that this sailor was investigating UFO sightings. So then we have a connection with UFOs, and I don't know, and it's almost like poltergeist activity in a way, So Louis Elizondo, who made headlines a few years back for this whole disclosure thing, coming from the project that the Pentagon was working on with UFOs, an Army veteran and former counterintelligence special agents with a high and tight haircut and rectangular strip of goatee, loved his smoke and mirrors work in places like the Middle East and Afghanistan. His father, a Cuban exile, participated in the failed Bay of Pigs. Elizondo and Mellon, who original members along with Hal Puthoff, a physicist who worked on the DIA and CIA psychic remote viewing programs of the 1970s and 80s. And man, this is MK Ultra.
Yeah.
Which is fucked up that these dudes that are now coming out with UFO disclosure worked on MK Ultra. I think. I mean, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
worked on these like acid tests and these fucking, and obviously counterintelligence. That's, I don't know. That kind of, there's a lot of people talking about if we're getting the truth on disclosure, and that kind of says maybe we're not getting the whole
Remember we're
truth.
getting told a story, that a narrative that they want you to believe, so they can keep other things under wraps.
And I don't know. You know, we've talked about this a lot. Is that just that they don't know what the fuck's going on, and they're trying to be like, oh yeah, we know what's going on exactly.
Maybe they know exactly what's going on, and they don't want you to know what's going on. So they're gonna.
Yeah.
So we'll keep filling you full of these stories and these happenings to keep you, keep you concentrate on something.
Complacent.
Yeah.
While there's much bigger shit.
That way,
on.
it looks like we're trying to figure it out with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
like we're telling you everything that's happening now.
That's true. And I mean, they are coming out with much weirder shit. I mean, I can't ever see them admitting that investigators on a UFO case had werewolves show up at their home. You know what I mean? So, in conclusion, we all knew that this did not belong to the military, that these phenomena and these UAPs were appearing everywhere, said Simi Van, who also did consulting work for Elizondo when he headed the Pentagon ATIP program. They're appearing over military sites, nuclear sites, over carrier task force groups, and things along this line. But they're also appearing all over the United States and all over the world in general.
They're not shy. They don't mind to go right at something that could possibly attack them, as far as these bases and stuff like that. Like, they obviously are not worried.
And that's the thing, right? I mean, like, it's obvious, like, that they're just like, you couldn't, I mean, whatever they are, it's almost like they look at us like you couldn't hurt us anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, we talk about trickster deities all the time. Wouldn't that, the whole Hawaii thing with the inbound nukes, be exactly that? What, I'm gonna mess with you guys for a little bit. Let's turn this on. Freak you
absolutely.
out, and we'll just turn it off.
And I mean, like, it's very much a trickster deity thing to do, right? Like, to be like, I'm gonna make you assess your entire life because you think it's about to end, but it's not really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A very initiatory process, right?
Or very much like, if that had kept going and they truly believed something was happening, somebody could have released nukes of their own and then basically ended the entire world.
Yeah.
That was somebody reaching out and going, look what I can do real quick.
Yeah.
I can fuck your whole world literally up. And
you know, that's not the first time that's happened with UFOs. I mean, that's been documented on countless bases where they've almost initiated or shut down a missile or a test. None of them come to mind right off the bat, but I'll do some research and include it in the show notes. But yeah, I mean, that's happened a lot. And I think this last time, it wasn't widely reported that UFOs were involved in this. Yeah. But it definitely seems like there were independent blogs and stuff reporting that UFOs are involved in this missile defense thing going off. So, but speaking of UFOs off the East Coast, it seems like the Tic Tacs and the Nimitz and all of those are having a echoing, rippling effect across like the paranormal fields in general with these werewolves and these, you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. It's an odd little.
Definitely such. Well, you talk about they said that they seen the tall, skinny, gray, like long-legged figure in their garden. Dude, isn't that what I seen at the dock?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what it was. It was, I mean, great big, tall, skinny.
I thought that
gray thing. Yeah, I did too. I just was kind of letting you finish, but yeah, like that's what I was sitting there thinking. Like, and the thing about that looked directly at me, dude. Yeah. Like, it wasn't like it was just doing its thing, and I didn't know I was there. No, that thing knew I was there. It looked right at me. I mean, I couldn't distinguish any features or anything like that, but like the way it turned its head right towards me, like I remember just being froze cold. But I mean, that's very similar to what these people.
To exactly what they described.
Yeah.
Listen in to the upcoming transmission a bit from the abyss for that story that John's referencing. But immediately reading that, I was like, yeah, that sounds exactly like what John... And, I mean, there are other stories from down there of seeing this spindly-legged gray thing.
Yeah. The one, like I said, was with one of the other security guards. And guy with a gun, thought it was something. And when he ran out the door, it was just nothing.
Yeah. It's odd. It's almost... This is an official, in a lot of ways, an official release connecting those phenomena with UFOs specifically.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's and it's interesting that we're getting that now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I said, it's just sad in this day and age. You can't necessarily trust what's being told to you anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially when the lead investigators worked on programs that were illicitly to lie to the public. You know what I mean? And fuck people up and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you'd like to believe that they're being honest and stuff, but it just sometimes you kind of wonder if maybe they know a little bit more than what they're saying, so they just tell you what sounds good.
Absolutely.
To keep you from...
Or to get something out of it, to get some narrative out of it, you know?
Well, exactly, yeah. Well,
I'm not saying
everything's about a narrative.
Everything.
Anymore.
That's a good point. Everything's about a narrative. And it's naive to think that they're not trying to control the narrative on whatever this is in one form or another.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
But that being said, it's interesting the things that they're releasing. And, you know, I think a lot of these things come from... a lot of these reports in this article come from the recently released Werewolves at the Pentagon book, or Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, I think is the name of it, which is George Knapp's book that, you know, come out recently. But he also worked on Hunt for the Skinwalker.
Right, yeah. I don't think I'd heard about the book.
I got it for Steven for Christmas. I haven't got to read it myself.
Yeah.
But it documents a lot of this talk at the Pentagon that happened around these programs. And we've talked about this a lot on the show, about how there were people in the Pentagon who thought these UFOs and shit were demons and didn't want to release it.
That's what I said earlier, demons.
Yeah, I mean, it's like straight up, they thought it was demons, and they were like, we can't tell people about this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Which, regardless of what they are, that's an interesting thing that there are officials in the government that are like, no, these are demons. We can't talk about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, of all the things, like, that's the first thing that comes to their mind. Like, why?
Yeah.
What? Again, we're not hearing anything like that.
Right.
So,
what the fuck?
What is it? What is there that's happening that makes them feel that way that we don't understand?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, that we're not hearing.
Yeah, that's a good point. What is it that's making them be like demons?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, most people would think UFOs, like we talk about, you know.
Absolutely.
But these people are like, no, these are demons.
Yeah.
Like, why do you think that?
That's
you know?
a very good point. Yeah.
And why are we not hearing anything that sounds like it would be demons?
That sounds like why are we not afraid?
Yeah.
Speaking of demons, brings us to our fourth and final story this evening, and this is some straight up Samurai Jack shit.
Exclusive episodes, merchandise, and much more. Visit us on patreon.com at patreon.com/midnightinkentucky.